Greetings, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and it's actually a response to a video I just watched by the outspoken Mr. Roger Waters from Pink Floyd. This man is a spokesperson lately, and it was a very recent video. He posted it recently, and I wish to respond. I'll leave the link in my description of this video, and I won't go over every point he made. He made a lot of points, but it was a speech that he had written and decided at the time not to publish, apparently, not to, broadcast it because it was, in my words, overly candid. Paraphrasing his words, he felt it was too, perhaps, scathing or critical. It used a lot of harsh but very candid language aimed at specific people. So anyhow, I want to respond to a couple of things he did say. In particular, he mentions exceptionalism. That's the first point I want to make, and I don't want to make this a long video. He describes the presidents, pretty much all recent U.S. presidents, as having major personality defects, and whether or not that's true, I couldn't say because I don't know them personally. I just know I don't necessarily agree with one complaint he had in particular, which is that some of them, our current president, in fact, celebrates except something called exceptionalism. He said. Now, I think I understand his meaning. I might be off the mark, but he seems to think that people are equal and should be equal, and I think that it's a little bit awkward coming from somebody who's wildly successful with a lot of natural talent to say that in the first place. But, even if it wasn't him saying it, I still necessarily don't agree with it because I think people aren't equal. I don't think we're born equal. We don't have equal backgrounds, economic potential. We don't have equal abilities or health. We don't have equal really anything, if you're being honest about it. So to say that we're equal or should be equal, it's a problem. It's just not true. So exceptionalism is a thing, and it's not necessarily the bad thing until it becomes a bad thing. What does that mean? Well, there's something called singling people out, and I've made videos about this in particular before. So you can single someone out in a good way or a bad way. You can single somebody out for recognition, that is, they are exceptional because of something they've done very well. You want to recognize them for it or reward them for it. That's an example of positive exceptionalism, if you will. Then there's, prejudice or stereotyping that excludes people based on, their color of skin or their heritage, whatever, their beliefs, their sexual orientation, whatever. There's a lot of criteria that people will use to single people out in a bad way. And that would be a bad form of exceptionalism. But I like to help people see that there's good and bad ways to do things. And when it comes down to it, if we're being honest, the way you do something defines it. I keep saying this. I'm not sure where we lost the path, but everyone seems to think that the snapshot is the thing. The snapshot has no meaning. Whether you're talking about exceptionalism or a crime, or you're talking about just anything out of context, it has no meaning. A symbol has no meaning without the reason for it, the intended meaning of it. The motive and effect define the event. I'm going to say that again. Motive and effect, that is, if you are exceptional, or if you're treating somebody with exceptionalism, telling them that they are or should be, considering these things, it's only honest. How you do it, well, that determines whether it's positive or negative, harmful, beneficial, whatever. So anyway, to move forward, he mentions also a lot of he repeats a phrase. I'm not going to say the phrase. I could, but it was funny. It was a funny video, especially by the end. There's this kind of shocking, candid, profane phrase that he keeps using in the video, and it gets funny towards the end. But my feeling is that candor and truth are super important, but also recognizing boundaries is almost as important, if you ask me. And it's not people aren't obligated to hear you out. I want to say that people aren't obligated to buy your stuff. People are obligated to believe what you believe, to agree with you. And I will take it another step and say, even if I don't agree with what you're saying, I will defend to the death your right to say it. But I do not have to give you an audience, and no one has to give me an audience. So, you know, it's okay to put things on blast on the internet. That's what it's for, if you ask me. But to be, you know, angry if people don't want to hear you, well, that's taking it too far, if you ask me. Anyway, I'm not sure he is, but I see that that's a potential, that someone might get that idea from what he said. That he literally said, if you're not telling the truth from the top of a building and ruffling feathers and getting people upset, then you're not doing it right. I agree that the truth is often inconvenient. I agree that the truth is unwelcome. It represents bad news most of the time, not all the time. Most of the time, it's a sign of something being true if it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, it's the truth about truth. So I would argue that people are ready when they're ready. Maybe they'll ask you, maybe they won't. But ramming it down their throats is counterproductive. Trying to sell people stuff that they don't want, even if it's an idea, not right. Anyway, I agreed with a lot of stuff he said too. I agreed that that the U.S. is largely run by people who are well, he didn't go out, I don't want to put words in his mouth. You know, I'll make a separate video about my opinions about that stuff, perhaps. But I don't want to speak for him. I don't want to necessarily make this an opinion piece about people in general or specific politicians, but I don't know. I think that it's great that Roger Waters is active in the community still. I think he's a great guy. He's a super good musician and singer, and he's one of my personal heroes, like from when I was young, and it's good to see him alive and well. So this is definitely hopefully a favorable, happy response to his video, and I hope he makes more videos, because shocking as they may be, I welcome it. So hope you have a great night, and reach out if you have questions to me, whiteheartrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.